Hello everybody, welcome back to Amber Unabridged. Today I'm going to be talking about a sort of series, an audiobook series of Doctor Who. I don't know if any of you have been around for a while or if this is your first video or if you're just getting to know me in general, but I really love Doctor Who. A lot. Just a bit. So anyway, I was on Spotify, I saw that they had Doctor Who audiobooks, so I listened to a Doctor Who audiobook series called Destiny of the Doctor. Their audio adventures would be the best way to describe them. They're on Goodreads, so they're considered books, but they're sort of more of a drama, almost like a play. Each of the stories in it, each of the books in it were narrated by no more than two people. So it's like one person would narrate a majority of the story and then somebody else would narrate a specific character. I found out after I started listening to it that this is an audiobook series that was released to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, which was in 2013. And they released one story a month between January and November until they had the 11 stories up through the 11th Doctor, the first through the 11th Doctor, and each story focuses on a different incarnation of the Doctor. This video is going to contain spoilers, so if you don't want any spoilers, don't watch the video. Now, if you are unfamiliar with Doctor Who, essentially the Doctor is a TV show. Primarily. However, there are books, there are audiobooks, there are dramas, there are extra, like they have, I think, an animated show, and there are spin-off series, and you might say that the series is bigger on the inside. Man, that's some good tea. It's about an alien, a different species of person called a Time Lord, who basically travels through space and time in their TARDIS, which looks like this-ish, minus the spout and handle. And the TARDIS stands for Time and Relative Dimension in Space. Got it on my mug here, because this is basically a TARDIS mug. It's bigger on the inside, and he usually travels with a companion or two or three. I should stop saying he. The 13th Doctor is going to be a woman. Huh. They travel through time and space, and they just go on adventures and save people, and like non-people, like aliens. They travel to different planets. They travel different time zones. Time zones? You can just do that with an airplane. They travel to different time periods on Earth as well as out in space, and just go on adventures, basically YOLO. But the Doctor gets they have different incarnations. So the Doctor regenerates. If the Doctor is going to die, what happens is they sort of die, but then because they're a Time Lord, the Time Lord species actually has the sort of way of tricking death in a way where they regenerate into a new person, new personality, new look, new everything. But, I mean, they maintain all of the memories and knowledge of the previous incarnations because it's the same person. So that's why there are multiple Doctors. For the best explanation, just watch all of it that exists. Essentially what it is it's 11 stories that all seem unconnected until the final one. Which sort of ties them all together in a really cool, timey-wimey kind of way. And I am a fan of it. Each story correlates with a specific Doctor. So the first one is Hunters of Earth by Nigel Robinson. I've got my list over here. That one was with the first Doctor and his companion Susan, or his granddaughter Susan. This audiobook was actually narrated by the actress who played Susan in the original series. So that was kind of cool. I've only seen one episode of that Doctor. I am not very familiar with any of the Doctors before 9, though I've dabbled a little bit. But this is a fun way to kind of get really introduced to the other ones. The second one was Shadow of Death, and that was by Simon Guerrier. It looks French. I really enjoyed that story. It was, yeah, it's kind of hard to go into a lot of these stories, so I'm probably not going to give much of a synopsis of them because there's a lot going on. The third one was Vengeance of the Stones by Andrew Smith. It basically plays off of the myth or the paranoia that Stonehenge was made by aliens. Number 4 was Babelsphere by Jonathan Morris. That one I really liked. That I enjoyed that one a lot. That was the Fourth Doctor. A lot of people who grew up in like the 70s and early 80s, if they watched Doctor Who then, that's the Doctor that they probably watched. This story I really enjoyed. It was set on this other planet, and there was a colony of people who had settled there. Originally, all artists, playwrights, novelists, whatever, and they kind of developed this way of linking up their thoughts with like this headset initially, and then with an implant, and they could basically hear each other thinking and kind of communicate their artistic ideas more efficiently that way. And then it kind of escalated to the point where some technological existence was just like, oh, now I'm going to control these robots, and they're going to make sure that you have the implant and you have no choice. Privacy is now a crime. Basically, everybody is forced to listen to each other all the time, 24/7, and they've just become nothing. And then the Doctor rolls in and it's just like, oh no. Need some more tea. I like tea. So then number 5 is Smoke and Mirrors by Steve Lyons. That one was kind of cool. It was set in the 30s, the 20s. They meet Harry Houdini, and apparently he and the Doctor go way back. The next one is Trouble in Paradise by Nev Fountain. Cool name. I liked that story a lot. It's set in 1492, and guess who they run into? The Doctor was all like, whoa, that's so cool and crazy. He's like this adventurer and he's so important. And his companion, whose name is Perry, was like, no, he's awful. He's the worst. And then the Doctor's like, oh yeah. Oh snap. Yeah, I see that. And there's like this devil buffalo thing that's traveling through time and trying to mess everything up. So they have to unmess that up. And it's just like a whole timey-wimey thing, and I really enjoy timey-wimey things, so I really enjoyed this story. I also really liked this Doctor. I hadn't encountered him before, and he's very sassy. The 7th story is Shockwave by James Swallow. So this is set on a different planet, and that planet's sun is about to collapse and basically wipe out everybody, and they're all gonna die. There's this issue involving a shockwave from the fallout of the sun collapsing, and if they get caught in that, then they're gonna die, and if they're close to the sun, then they're gonna die, and there's just a lot of ways that they can die. Naturally, it goes very, very smoothly, and everybody's fine. Just kidding. That's not how Doctor Who works. They get on this lifeboat, essentially. It's a ship, but whatever. And then some things go awry, and they have to scurry around and try to fix it in time before imminent death. So it's a fun time. The 8th one is Enemy Aliens by Alan Barnes. Basically, there's clues hidden in the music and in stuff to try to basically save the world. The 9th Doctor was not technically my first Doctor, but the first season of Doctor Who that I fully watched. And most people in my age range who watch Doctor Who tend to start there, because that was when they rebooted the series in 2005. Yeah. That one is Night of the Whisper by Cavan Scott. It's set in New Vegas in the 23rd century, and he's got Rose Tyler and Jack Harkness with him. Love Jack. Basically, there's a sort of zombie renegade, vengeance-seeking person trying to get justice for everything that exists ever. 10 is Death's Deal by Darren Jones. This is obviously the 10th Doctor. This was my favorite of all of the stories. First of all, because he was traveling with Donna. Donna is my favorite Doctor Who companion. I love her so much. I am drinking a tea named after her. But in addition to Donna traveling with the Doctor, they're on this planet, and the entire planet is trying to kill everybody. And you think like, oh man, this is such a hostile planet. Why does anybody come here? But then it turns out that really the planet's just lashing out because it can't handle foreign technology. Any foreign technology, so ships with sending out any kind of like distress signals or anything, it's basically making the planet go crazy. It's reacting with the biochemistry of the planet, and the planet's lashing out and basically trying to kill everything because it doesn't want it can't handle that the technology just messing with its head, I guess. So I really liked that story a lot. I really liked it. And then the 11th story with the 11th Doctor, it's set in November of 2013, which is, it was released in November of 2013. And it's essentially this professor at Oxford and one of his students built a time machine, and they're gonna use it, and that's always a good idea when you don't know what you're doing. The Doctor shows up because he's like, something's not quite right, and the professor is like, no, it's fine. Like, I'm getting these voice messages from my future self telling me how to put it together, and he's like, okay, it's kind of a paradox, but whatever. Somebody tries out the time machine, I think the Doctor might, and with the student, and it just does not go well. Turns out the entire thing is a setup by this creature called the Krivix, and they essentially have them build this time machine so that they can use it, go into the future, send it back in time, have somebody there use it, go into the future, send it back in time, or teach people how to rebuild the parts or something. And essentially this set of these creatures, the Krivixes, are trying to create a time paradox because they're essentially writing people out of existence by making them never having existed, because they live off of the potential future that could have existed. It reminded me of the Weeping Angels. Yeah, so the Krivix basically try to create this time paradox, but then the Doctor has this there's this cube that they had that's basically sending everything back, and the Doctor takes it and he thinks about some stuff, and then it had been connected to his TARDIS, so then the TARDIS projects the thoughts the messages that he was creating, and the TARDIS projects them throughout time and space to all of his past selves. This is where it starts coming together. So each one of these stories involves the Doctor, whichever Doctor it is, receiving a message from the 11th Doctor, which breaks every rule that it tries to establish in the series, but that's what Doctor Who does. It doesn't care. Loopholes galore. So anyway, the Doctor sends these messages to his past selves, and he's like, you need to save this person. You need to make sure this thing doesn't get destroyed. You need to make sure that you accomplish this task. And then essentially, by establishing all of these things in the past, before the Krivixes can create their time paradox, he's creating his own time paradox to subvert the time paradox that the Krivixes are trying to make. It's really convoluted and nuts, but I really enjoyed it. So yeah, that was a thing that I listened to. If you are a fan of Doctor Who, please let me know. I want to nerd with you. If you think you're going to check it out, let me know what you think. If you do, if you're going to travel through time, make sure that you follow all the rules except when you shouldn't. Stay classy and read responsibly, everybody.